Hey, what is up, YouTube? What is up? Test. Okay, we good. What is up, YouTube? What is up, Christianology family? So we have undressed man comes to our father's property. No, those a 2-year-old on the lawn, and some naked guy just came there to look at the 2-year-old boy. And allegedly, there's nothing being done because it's not a crime to be naked in public. All right, like with minors present. All right, let's get straight to the video.
Black Force Supplements brought to you by Black Force Supplements. We'll get to that in a second. Like and subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell so you get notification anytime I go live or make a video. Make sure you subscribe to this channel. Like this video, comment on this video, share this video. Let's get into this. Ladies and gentlemen, and ladies, we have to talk about what happened in the state of Oregon.
Does the subscribe and like, does that really work? I don't know if that works, man. But I'm a content creator now, so like any video I like, I just hit the like, because just support. If I can't monetarily support, I'm gonna just support with a like or subscribe.
With the police officer, and a lot of people are blaming the police officer. Let me just say this at face value. This man is doing his job. He ain't the one that voted to have laws in place. He's just here to enforce the laws that are on the books. So if you don't like the fact that a person can indecently expose themselves to children, it's not his fault. You need to get politicians in place. You need to get the state legislator to change the law, and then he is obligated to enforce the law. And if he is impartial in some way to this, it doesn't matter because he's supposed to be impartial. He don't supposed to be on your side or their side. He's just supposed to come and enforce what the law is. But I think there's a lot of nuances to the law that most people are not going to talk about. So I'm going to show you indecent exposure publicly. How can indecent exposure be a felony? And private indecent exposure, which is what this probably is, and most people are not talking about it. But let me play the clip that's going viral online regarding this police officer and his interaction with an Oregon citizen. And let me just say this before we get started. I don't know if what the citizen said actually happened. Right? There's a chance that he just made this up. I don't know. There's no evidence, unequivocal evidence that somebody pulled a thing out in front of his kid. I don't know. This officer may not have known. Is there other witnesses?
I mean, you should have evidence, bro. Like everybody has a ring camera, so if you don't, or some surveillance cameras, at least a ring. So it looks like the front door is where the sidewalk is, so you should be able to have some footage, if it actually happened.
All these things go into play. There could be a situation where the dude is trying to go viral. Maybe the dude was walking down the street and his pants accidentally fell down or something like that, and it came out on accident, and he's making it a big deal because why? It will become viral. Now, I don't know. Did the man have a video of a man exposing himself to his kid? If he does, send it to me, put it online so people can see. I look at this as impartially and say, I don't know what's true and what's not true. I'm just going off what I see from this video right here.
You're saying in the state of Oregon, someone can walk up to your 2-year-old kid completely bare naked, and that's not a crime? Even if it's on your property?
Correct. Well, so it's trespassing, but what I'm saying is there's no laws against the actual nudity portion of it.
So you can expose yourself to children in Oregon?
Again, if you're not doing it for sexual gratification or the gratification of somebody else, yes, you are allowed to walk around in public naked.
On private property, this is where I live, and someone just came and exposed themselves to my 2-year-old boy, and this officer's saying that it's not a crime. So a naked person came up onto my property here, approached my 2-year-old kid, completely naked, which I ran over to him and covered his eyes so he wouldn't see. My obvious thought is to call 911 as someone's indecently exposing themselves to my child on my property. At what point did this become a normal and acceptable thing to do? The cops will literally do nothing about it. They're basically saying we have to wait for that person to do something more serious to your kid before we can intervene. You're saying...
All right, now let's talk about this for a minute. What the guy said in the video is not completely accurate. And the reason why the officer seems to pause, because it's a lot of nuance to the law. So one thing that's good to do when you're looking at videos like this, and you go to the state law so you can read it yourself and you know exactly what the state law says. All right, before I tell you guys about the law, I want to tell you guys about our sponsor, which I think is associated to a certain degree because the health. Let's look at this law because I think the law is important for us to articulate. So when you look at the law, you see that there's a public indecency, which is indecent exposure, right? And the law reads in public indecency is that a person commits a crime of public indecency if, while in or in view of a public place, the person performs either a act of sexual intercourse, an act of oral, or you know what? Hey, y'all get it, okay? You know what that is. I don't want to say that. This word.
Anal, bro. Anal sexual intercourse, bro. It's right there, bro. Like, that's like, that's for like the LGBTQs, that's for them,
The master word, or the act of exposing genitals of a person with the intent to arouse sexual desires of the person or another person. So that's what public indecency is in the statute of indecent exposure. It's a misdemeanor. Now, it becomes a felony. If you look at statute 163-466 or .466, it becomes a felony if the person has already been accused of or convicted of another crime associated with sexual deviancy. Either they're a sex offender or they raped somebody or anything of that nature, and then they do this particular crime, it becomes a felony. Now, in this case, with the young man that we're talking to, it's private indecency. And this is with the same intent, right? The intent to arouse the sexual desires of another person, and right? And the person is in a place where another person has a reasonable expectation of privacy, which would be in your front yard, right? It will be in your front yard. You have an expectation of privacy at your own house. That's where this would kind of be associated with. Or the person is in the view of another person, exposure is reasonable or expected to alarm or annoy another person, which also is a part of this. And then this last one, it says, and the person knows that the other person did not consent to the exposure, which is also associated with what we had experienced. Now, this is the caveat. If a person is coming up to your child butt naked, I don't see how the man who made the video, the father, could not articulate that this person had the intent of being aroused by or to arouse your child. What was the scenario? Was a person walking down the street and the pants accidentally fell down? Or was a person butt naked and decide to come right up to your kid to do what? To start talking to your kid, to start having a conversation with your kid? Then I think you can start following and articulating that, hey man, this guy was trying to sexualize my kid, or he was trying to be sexy with my kid, or the guy was getting aroused by approaching my child while he was naked. Those are things you can articulate to the police officer if you felt that that's the reason why the person came up to your kid naked. Because what other reason would a person approach your child in your yard butt naked? And this would be the statute, private indecency, because the kid had a reason to feel protected in their own place, reasonable expectation of privacy, and then also exposure that would be alarming or annoying to another person, which is obvious that it would be alarming to a kid and annoying to a kid to see an adult naked. And when I look at what the gentleman said, I think to myself, it's not that simple, right? Many situations where a person is coming up to you naked, they're doing something nasty, which the law would protect you from. And all you have to do is be able to articulate. If the guy just, this is one thing that I didn't like about the video, and I just have to say this, is that if this in fact happened the way he did, what was the scenario, right? In the video, the guy never says, there was a parade going by, and the guy came up to my kid with his out. Then, what made him to deviate from the parade to come up to your child? What did he say to your kid? What did your kid say was said to him? Was he touching your kid? Was he trying to expose his genitalia to your kid specifically? These are all associated with private indecency, which is a crime. Was he just a homeless man and he was drunk out of his mind and he just so happened to be naked? Did he approach your kid because he was trying to ask your kid for help for something, right? Where's your dad? Can you help me or whatever? Then that's when the caveat in the law exists where it's like, okay, the person wasn't intending to expose your kid. And then the police officer said that a person could just be walking around naked. Now, let me just put it to this way. Random people just don't walk around naked. Most of the time when you see somebody walking around naked, it's associated with something else. And if that something else is them being provocative sexually in any way, that means if they are dressed in bondage and somebody's flapping them on the butt and they're naked and they're doing sex acts, or they're doing something provocative, and in a public place is different, but they come on your property and do it, then that's when private indecency is.
And plus, you gotta be a weirdo. You gotta be a weirdo to come to someone's property naked, man. These people crazy, man. That's what I gotta say about this. These people crazy. Crazy.